When AI helps decide who gets a loan, job interview, or service, GDPR asks a practical question. Can the person understand the decision, challenge it, and get meaningful human review? In this topic, we turn that obligation into concrete controls. You've already built the compliance foundation, mapping AI systems, tracing data flows, classifying risks, mapping HIPAA controls, and applying GDPR rights and DPIAs. Now we apply that foundation to automated decisions by making profiling transparent, explainable, contestable, reviewed by humans, and fair. After that, we'll move into residency and cross-border transfer controls. GDPR's key question is not simply, is AI involved? It is, what role does automation play and how much does it affect the person? A system might support a human, rank or flag cases, or make the final decision itself. Risk increases as human judgment decreases and individual impact increases. When a solely automated decision creates legal or similarly significant effects, Article 22 and stronger safeguards come into focus. Lawful basis, transparency, human review, and the ability to contest. An AI decision does not have to be the final click to create impact. A score, eligibility label, fraud flag, or priority ranking can shape what happens next. That may mean faster service, higher pricing, extra monitoring, an investigation, or exclusion from an offer. For compliance, trace the chain from personal data to model output to human or system action, and finally to the consequence for the individual. That is often where regulatory impact appears. Treat Article 22 as a triage question, not a label. First, test automation. Did a real person have authority, context, and time to change the outcome? Or were they just rubber stamping it? Then test significance. Does the result affect rights, access to essential services, work, credit, insurance, or healthcare? If both are yes, identify a valid exception and prove the safeguards: clear notice, human review, appeal rights, and controls against discriminatory outcomes. An AI privacy notice should do more than say AI is involved. It should explain why personal data is processed, what data is used, where it comes from, who receives it, how long it is kept, and whether profiling, scoring, recommendations, or automated decisions occur. It should also give a meaningful, plain language explanation of the logic and likely effects. Finally, it should point people to their GDPR rights: access, correction, erasure, objection, restriction, and contesting decisions where relevant. Meaningful information about logic does not mean exposing source code or every model parameter. The goal is practical understanding. People should know which categories of information mattered, what role the model played, and how its output affected the final decision. A weak explanation says, advanced algorithms assessed eligibility. A stronger explanation connects factors, purpose, and consequences, so users and regulators can assess fairness, accuracy, and whether the outcome can be challenged. Transparency works best as a layered journey, not as one dense document. At collection or at the point of an AI-driven decision, people need a short, plain language notice that helps them act. If they want more detail, the full policy should explain purposes, rights, retention, contacts, and appeal options. Behind that, teams need internal records showing how the system really works. The key is consistency. Every layer must tell the same truth. Human review is more than a signature at the end. The reviewer needs enough context to understand the model's recommendation, key factors, uncertainty, and surrounding facts. Review must happen while the outcome can still change, not after the decision is effectively locked. The reviewer also needs real authority to approve, reject, modify, escalate, or override. Finally, the process should be monitored for rubber stamping, bias, workload pressure, and unusual override patterns. A strong review workflow separates routine outputs from cases that need judgment. High-risk decisions, disputes, low-confidence scores, protected impact cases, and policy exceptions should enter defined queues with the right reviewer expertise. Reviewers can approve, modify, or override, but they must record the evidence and rationale. Complex or legally sensitive cases should escalate to senior review. Over time, metrics like cycle time, override rate, and recurring error patterns show whether governance is actually working. Contestability turns a decision from a dead end into a governed process. Users need clear notice, an understandable explanation, and simple ways to submit corrections or new evidence. The appeal path must be accessible, timely, and usable in the languages and formats affected people need. Most importantly, the review must involve a real human with authority to change the outcome. Keep records of evidence, rationale, timing, and resolution, so appeals also improve the system. Bias control is not a single pre-launch checkbox. Under GDPR accountability, teams need evidence that the system was tested, reviewed, and corrected across its lifecycle. Start by checking outcomes for disparate impact across relevant groups using representative data. Then look for proxy variables, such as location or income, that may recreate sensitive traits. After deployment, monitoring should trigger incident review, documented remediation, and governance approval, so fairness findings become accountable action. Fairness monitoring turns broad bias concerns into signals a governance team can act on. Track outcomes such as approvals, denials, false positives, false negatives, and appeal success by relevant cohorts when lawful and appropriate. Compare accuracy, calibration, and adverse impact across groups. Predefined thresholds should trigger review, not automatic conclusions. Finally, keep the evidence, reports, test results, model cards, and decisions, so investigations and audits have a clear record. Evidence mapping turns compliance from a claim into something auditable. Each GDPR duty should link to a real control, such as notice management, explanation generation, human review, appeal handling, or fairness monitoring. Each control should then connect to proof. DPIA sections, model documentation, reviewer logs, appeal records, test reports, and audit trails. The strongest maps also name owners and review frequency, so any user decision can be traced from model output through review, outcome, and governance record. Automated decision governance comes down to impact mapping, clear notices, truthful explanations, real human review, appeal paths, bias monitoring, and audit evidence. Together, these controls make transparency operational. Next, we apply GDPR discipline to data residency, vendors, hosting, and cross-border transfers, where accountable AI data movement becomes the focus.